Peace and blessings, y'all. Peace, 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 and welcome to Redefining Authenticity. I am your toolbox essentialist, Kim Martin Raymond, and I am the founder of Redefining You, home of the 365-day challenge. We on day what? 160. All right, y'all. I'm
Jesus.
telling you. Mind blown, okay? But we're creating healthy habits. That's what we're doing, and
That's
we're
what we're
creating wellness
doing.
habit. That's what we're doing. We're helping people mind, body, and spirit. So
Period.
I'm here.
Yes, yes. Peace, love, and blessings to each and every one of you. Welcome and welcome back to Redefining Authenticity. My name is Sheronda Barksdale, your spiritual life empowerment coach over at Authentically Your Expressions, where we are helping you live your most authentic life. Peace.
Yes, and it is also home of these fantabulous pillows. Okay.
Yes.
That are for sale if you go to her website. Okay, I have
Yeah.
mine. Okay, make sure that you are getting yours. It stays right there, handy dandy. Okay, just
Yeah.
made with love and light, and it's just a beautiful,
Everyone loves this
beautiful.
pillow. They give the people can feel the energy. That's the beautiful part.
That's it.
They're like,
That's it.
oh, this is beautiful. My aunt bought one. And she's a tiny little woman. She's about maybe 5 feet tall. Okay, and she decided she wanted. I want an extra large pillow. Okay,
Okay.
so that I took it up there because she came down for the wedding this past weekend. So I took it to her. I said, "This pillow big as you," and she's
That's
like,
it.
let me see." And I handed it to her. She was like, she said, "This is going on my bed. I'm ready."
There you go. There you go. Like I say, y'all, make sure you get your
Pillow.
pillow. Make sure you get your pillow. Okay. Go to our website, get
Yeah.
your pillow. Make sure that you guys like, follow, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channels. They are running across the bottom of the screen as we speak. You'll see them right down there. So make sure that you like, follow, share, subscribe. Make sure that you also comment. Let us know where you're listening from. Give us a shout out. Okay, make sure to do that. Interact with us. Okay. And then she's got in the feed in our chat her website for the pillows again, www.authenticallyyourexpressions.com. Go get your
Yes.
pillow. Sign up for our YouTube channels. Again, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Okay, shout us out. Let us know how
Yes.
you are enjoying the show. So, like Sharonda said, we're back for part two of how to make your relationship work. We took a little
Yeah.
hiatus last week, but we are back.
We're back.
Back. We're back. And we are talking about how to make your relationship work. So let me go ahead and cue that up.
Let me say
There we
first,
go.
y'all, Kim is hilarious. I have got this grin on my face that's making my cheeks hurt because she had me cracking up before we got on here. I'm not I'm not high. I'm trying to maintain my giggles. I just want to put that out there for y'all real quick. Because
You
Kim
ain't
is
right.
hilarious.
You ain't right. That's all right. That's why you roll with me. That's why we're sisters. Okay. Sisters
Okay.
from different misters, but we are sisters.
Period.
Okay, in life, honey. Yeah, we be cutting up. We cut up,
Yes,
but that's what makes our relationship work. That we can laugh with each other and at each other
and at
and
each
at
other.
ourselves. How about that?
In ourselves.
How about that?
I love it. I
All
love
of the
I
things.
love you, Kim.
All the things. I love you more, my sister. You know that. All right. So like I said, we're gonna be talking about how to make your relationship work part deux. Okay. All right. So we're going to ahead. You can kick us off, Sharonda. We are going to be starting with
Yes. A guide to keeping your relationships working. Be faithful. Just be faithful. There's absolutely nobody holding a gun to your head saying that you have to be in a relationship with someone. So if you're going to make the conscious decision, the one that you elected and volunteered to do,
right.
be respectful and be faithful. Do the thing that's right because you know you want that from the other person. Now, there are people out here who have open relationships, but that still is an agreement that people come into together. So we insist. How are you going to keep your relationship working, Kim, if you're not being faithful?
That's right. That's right. It's all about commitment. You know what I'm saying? And we talk about being faithful. Well, when we think about faithful, outside of a relationship, we think about it on a spiritual basis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a level of of obedience. There's a level of trust that
Yes.
comes with being faithful.
Yes.
Okay, trust is actually the foundation of that faithfulness.
Yes.
Okay, I trust you enough to see that you're investing in this relationship like I'm investing in this
Yes.
relationship. And so I'm not going to be looking to the left or to the right. I'm just going to be doing things that are going to help to increase that level of faithfulness and that level of commitment that
Yes.
we have to each other.
Yes.
I think about my parents. They are coming up. July will be 58 years they've been together. They've been rocking with each other since my mom was 14 and my dad was 17. That's a long time. My mom just hit 77 yesterday. She had a birthday yesterday. And my
Yes.
dad will be 80 this year. They've been together a long time. That's a long time to be committed to something,
Yes, it
to
is.
be committed to a relationship. So there's a lot to be said about being faithful. You're
Yeah.
making a commitment, you're making a promise to each other that you're going to make this thing work.
Yes. And I can, being as transparent as I usually am, I've been in a relationship where I wasn't the faithful person. But what I learned from that particular instance is, again, nobody's forcing me to be in this relationship. So what's the point in cheating when I could just say I want out of the relationship first before I do something that's going to break someone's heart?
Right.
Why don't we make the decisions that are going to make it easier, worthwhile, and just give that closure and love to that space that you created together? If it began that way, let it end that way. Then move on to wherever you want to move on to. But to just start hurting someone that way, I hated it once I realized, because we'll justify it. Well, he don't talk to me no more. Well, she won't have sex with me no more. Well, he's doing this. Well, he's working too late at night. He's working too many hours. She's always looking to. People come up with reasons to justify why they're not faithful. They're reasons, but they're not justifiable. It's still not okay.
Right.
It's not okay. Get out the relationship.
That's it. That's it. Be honest with yourself and that person.
Period.
Be honest with that person. And like you said, and if you're going to be in that relationship, be faithful. Don't be looking to the left or to the right. Look into that person's eyes.
Yes.
In that instance, have tunnel vision.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Put your pride and your ego away. That's a mouthful right there. Okay? Because if you want your relationship to work, it doesn't have to be about pride. You don't always have to be right.
First thing that came to my mind.
You don't always have to be right. What is it with not wanting to tell somebody or being too proud to ask for something that you need? If that person is there to be your helpmeet, if that person is there to support you, how is it that you can be prideful and not mention anything when that may be the very person who can help you to get through whatever it is that you're going through?
Yeah.
So don't let your pride or your ego lead to destruction.
Girl.
When it comes to your relationship. Well, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want you to know anything. You don't want to tell that person that you broke. You don't want to tell that person that you're living with your mom. You don't want to tell that person that you're going through financial hardships. How is that person going to support you in what you're going through? Or they may even have suggestions or recommendations on how you can get beyond that point if you're going to let your pride and your ego, be the buffer or be the blocker from allowing that relationship to bloom and for it to be an honest and truthful relationship. Because when you're prideful and you have that ego, you start hiding things.
Yes.
Because you feel some level of shame about something, or
yes,
or you're wanting that ego to be stroked, and so it's just becoming so so much of a hardship. It just creates all kinds of adversity in your relationship.
Absolutely.
Talk to them about it.
Absolutely. Ego is one thing that you'll see in the relationship quick. Just because, and ego once again is the need to be right. It's the ego is The ego wants to protect us, even when it's not supposed to. Even when it's not supposed to,
Right.
the ego will make you say things like, "I'm not doing these type of things for no woman. I don't do these type of things for no man." You know you're in love with this person, but because your ego's so big, you won't bend down, you won't break, and just go ahead and be the co-signer. You're married now. You can co-sign for the car. What's going to happen?
Right.
What's the worst that's going to happen? And if you don't want to do it, y'all have that conversation, but don't make it egotistical and insulting. There are certain things that you have to bend to when you are in a healthy relationship. The healthiest of relationships requires sacrifice. Things that you thought you would never do. Things you thought you would never do. Even people who, even sometimes you see people who end up having children and they didn't want to have any.
Mm.
And it really didn't have anything to do with, I just don't want to have kids. It's a pride thing. I don't want to do it because I like my life. I like being free. I like being, and then all of a sudden, now y'all popped up pregnant. And now y'all going your separate ways because you couldn't even just sacrifice that space to see how healthy that actually could make your relationship between you and especially between you and that child be a happier and healthier child. You'd be surprised how much people's prides and egos will destroy a relationship. I'm not going to get you no loan to help you with this. And it's something that's, I ain't telling you go get a loan to help somebody be a junkie.
Right.
But if y'all about to lose your house and you're the one with good credit,
right,
somebody's pride will make them not do it.
Right. But what about those that pride and the ego when that person no longer looks the way they used to look? Child, we can talk for the next 45 minutes about that alone.
About that alone.
Okay. Because there are some people who will not go into a relationship or further a relationship because that person may have gained weight. Something was going on. They were in an accident and now they may be disabled or something happened. And now your pride and ego and how you look and how that person is going to look with you now changes the dynamics of your relationship. Oh, we can only be friends. We can't go further on because I can't have anybody, I can't have anybody see me with you.
Yeah.
Even though that person may be your person, they may be that person that brings you joy. Y'all laugh and you joke, but you never go anywhere because your pride and ego won't let you go out and be seen with that person. What is that about? So you miss out on your own happiness. You miss out on a relationship that may last a lifetime because you're so concerned with what other people think about your relationship.
External stuff, not the internal, not the heart. Not the kindness. Somebody sent me a video similar to that recently. The guy, there's a couple, and the guy had gotten shot. And I think he ended up paralyzed, I think it was. And so he was having some issue. He had a traumatic brain injury from it. That's what And so he wasn't functioning even remotely how he was prior to that. And she was kind of like thinking, I don't want to be here anymore. The reason I didn't have any issues with her feeling that way, number one, they weren't married. When you get married, you said sickness and hell.
Right.
You've taken on a whole nother beast when you start signing papers with the state. You don't just walk away.
Right.
Number two, his TBI caused him to be aggressive. So she was actually miserable. And I would never suggest that anyone stays in a relationship if you're miserable. But like Kim said, you're happy. We're talking about the ones who are still happy with the person, but because they got a little more belly after they had 5 of your dang on kids. Or some accident happened. Might have got burned or anything. And it's changed their external appearance. And they still have this great heart about them. And you're willing to walk away because of your pride? Negro, you didn't deserve it in the first place.
Right.
I didn't have to make that be about a man. I internalized. Sorry.
No, but just like you said, it is. It's hard. It's hard. I think about, like I said, just going basic. I know we talked about some extremes there, but yes, but even the basic, just, oh, well, how come you'll never go nowhere? How come you'll never introduce me to your friends? Because you want me to be you're in a relationship with you and you want to have fun with me on the side, but you don't want anybody else. You don't want to introduce me to any of your inner circle people because you're ashamed of me.
Because you're ashamed of me.
What kind of relationship are we building if you're talking about how happy you are and how much you love me, but you can't take me out, you can't take me to the store, you can't take me down the street. If we're outside, then you're like, oh, this is my friend, because you don't want anybody to know that we're in a relationship.
Oh, child, I wish.
I mean, but it happens.
And they walking around with busted knees, looking all knock-kneed men. These barrel-shaped men want to be embarrassed. Girl, go ahead.
Right. But we see a lot of that, and I have to say that social media plays a part in that too, because there are so many people that are airbrushed, so many people that are putting on airs that they look this way and that way, and people are going and having all kinds of surgery and things done to try to be something that they're not, just trying to satisfy somebody else's or stroke somebody else's ego. I have to look like the trophy girlfriend. I have to like the trophy wife. I have to look like, I got to be the man on her arm, and I've got to look a certain way. And we forget to look within. We forget, what are the foundations of a relationship?
Yeah.
And they don't start on the exterior. They start on the interior. So put your pride and your ego away.
I'm going to leave this alone, but I think that's why I see so many women that you would consider aesthetically just gorgeous have low self-esteem, because now somebody's gotten with you because of your external, and now they're abusive because they don't want you to feel as pretty as you actually are, or you actually a jerk. You're pretty, but you're not a very nice person, so you're always single and you're always in and out of relationships.
Right.
So they have low self-esteem after a while. I've seen a lot of that too.
That's right. Child, listen, we can go on for days and hours. But put that pride and that ego away.
Put it away.
Okay. There's so many layers to that. But if you want to be in a successful relationship, if you want to be in a relationship where you're authentically yourself and you're putting all those things away, it's going to be the best relationship that you'll ever experience. Don't let your ego and your pride keep you from that. All right, let's move on.
Hey. Do you want to keep your relationship working? Don't talk about your ex. Never, ever. Lord, I've had this situation. I've had women mad at me, and I never, ever met them, all because their man talked about me. And now she's trying to find my number or something. She found my number in their phone and calling me on some foolishness. Why you got to tell her all that? We're not together.
Right.
We ain't been together in years. Now you got this woman pissed off, brand new, about something really, really old. Don't talk about me. And it's insulting to some people. I can have small conversations about exes because there's certain things I really do want to know. I ain't shit, Kim. I will listen in to what people, because when people want to start talking about their ex, now I'm listening to what you did in order for that relationship to have ended. So I don't mind it all the time because I'm trying to peep. You're blaming somebody for something, but I'm hearing the gaps of what you're not saying. I'm hearing what actually happened. So I don't mind, personally, I don't mind it so much. But if you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to do that, don't do it. Because that person's an ex for a reason. They're no longer around for a reason. So they don't serve any real purpose now in the new relationship. It's not serving you any good. So I say leave it alone.
And this is where it gets complicated, because if you are in a relationship with someone who has children with someone else, that's always going to come into play because y'all have the connection of the child.
Yep.
So when you are thinking and considering about being in a relationship and you don't want to have to deal with that person's ex, baby mama, baby daddy, all those other things like that, then don't get in a relationship with someone who has children. That may be one of your non-negotiables. We talk about that. What are your things that are negotiable and what are those things that are non-negotiable?
Yep.
Okay. If that person has children with someone else and they're co-parenting, there's going to have to be conversation that happens. Okay. If that person does not have children with that person, but they're constantly talking about it, you know what it reminds me of? People who always talk, well, at my old job, we used to do this, that, and the third. Okay, so if you loved it so much, why'd you leave it? Why are you talking about it? Because you're in something new. And how are you going to get to make new memories? And how are you going to get to have new experiences if you're always talking about what you did back then? You left it, like you said, you left it for a reason. So why are you not letting it die? Why do you keep resurrecting the dead?
Yes.
Unless you want to be back there.
Yes.
You know, and then at the same time, you want to be careful not to make comparisons between that person. And, well, she used to do this and you don't do that. And she didn't do that. I didn't know it was a competition. Now I'm competing against somebody who I don't even know. You know, and so why do we put ourselves in that position? You're stirring a pot that's going to overflow and bubble and overflow before you even know it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're talking about something that should have been, if that's behind you, you turn that page, glue the page shut. Unless you're in that dating phase where there's a possibility that you're going back to that person.
Yeah.
Then make that known.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not, then let it go.
Yes.
Let it go. People are hanging on to things. You're hanging on to things for dear life that are, or you have not resolved it in your mind. And that's where you have to stop. If you're constantly talking about your ex, then there are some issues that you haven't resolved. There's some closure that you haven't experienced. And before you get into something else, tie that up. Tie up those loose strings, whatever it is, tie it up. Be done with it before you start going into another relationship where you spend 99% of your time talking about your ex and 1% of your time talking to me, the person who you're trying to establish a new relationship with. How are we ever going to build?
Yep.
You building on that same sand dune that you was building on before.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
People are going to feel some kind of way. You know, I don't want to be the one. Stop talking about your ex. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Okay. Moving on. Be considerate and thoughtful. Okay. Gentlemen, you know, they keep saying that chivalry is dead. You know, be considerate of the person. If they're getting out, hold the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold the door. Ask them if they're okay. And then we're talking about considerate and thoughtful. When you ask that person how their day is going, give them an opportunity to talk about it. If you don't want to hear them vent about their job, then don't ask that question. Ask something else. Okay. Don't be like, oh my God, I don't want to hear that. But you asked me how my day was, and I'm telling you how my day was, and you on your phone and you doing everything but making any type of eye contact with me to let me know that you're engaged in this conversation. Now I'm not just talking to myself.
Yes. Yes.
Be considerate and thoughtful. If that person had a lousy day, how about saying, don't be like, oh man, that's messed up. Well, you know, who I need to fight? No. How about just say, you know, what can I do to help make your day better?
Yep.
Or that person was upset. My husband, like I said, when we went for Valentine's Day and my rose broke, he went and bought me 12 dozen roses. He says, I saw you wrap the rose in the tissue. And so I know that rose meant something to you. So here, I bought you 12 more.
Child, you said the rose broke. I ain't gonna tell you where my mind went.
Okay.
I was like, she needed 12 more of them. I'm sorry.
I don't like you.
Okay. I had to run, man.
Yeah, no, ma'am.
I had to catch up.
A rose, the flower. Okay. See.
My rose.
Ooh. A dozen roses.
She should have said the rose broke off the stem, then I would have been,
okay. She said the rose, but okay, wow. See, communication is key, isn't it? Clarity. I don't like you. I don't like you right now. say all that. Be considerate and thoughtful. When people are telling you their feelings or sharing their feelings, have empathy. Don't be like, oh my God, you being extra. Oh my God, why are you doing the most? It's real to them.
Right.
Be considerate and thoughtful of that person's feelings. If they're asking you to do something or they're saying that the way when you do this, it bothers me, why do you keep doing it?
Exactly.
Be considerate and thoughtful of someone else's feelings outside of your own ego.
Exactly. Ego. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I had to do in the reverse was I realized if I'm having a certain type of rough day, it was hard for my husband to have a conversation about it because it
Mm-hmm.
would frustrate him.
Mm-hmm.
When I was frustrated. He would get upset if I was upset. So I learned where to take that information. I call Kim. Kim, let me see how my day went. And
Yes.
it's not to take anything away from him. It's just being considerate of I don't want him to get
Right.
upset. I don't want
Mhm.
him. If it was something important, of course I'm going to my husband. But just to vent and just to have a conversation,
Right.
I learned what my sources were. And you can't be upset about that either. When sometimes you have to have your village of people.
Right.
You would think that you could talk about everything with your person. I don't think it's smart.
No, that person can't be everything.
They
Like
can't be everything. You will overwhelm them with your stuff if you always have something. Because there's some people who need to dump every single damn day. Do you not know how to process some of your own shit sometimes?
right.
So now that every time you come in the door, let me tell you what such and such did today on the job. You so bothered. And especially if you're in a relationship with a fixer, somebody who
Yes.
wants to fix things, they become overwhelmed. Me too, get me too. We become overwhelmed and want to do something. Or we're trying to give you I'm trying to give you solutions at this point. Now
Right.
you're mad because I'm trying to give you solutions and
Right.
you're just trying to vent. And even
Right.
that is something that I've had to learn, even in this current relationship, that sometimes I have to say first, I don't want you to try to fix it. I just need to vent. And that establishes
Yes.
considerate and thoughtful. Just I
Correct.
don't want you to do anything about it. Or I'll say, I really need a solution to this problem I have going on. And then we could talk about that. Those
Right.
things help, but you have to be someone who can be considerate enough to think about those things and
Right.
not just assume that your special person is supposed to take on every single one of your problems. They're not.
Right. But just like you said, it's about listening too. You said, I listen when my daughter, when my husband, when they say certain things, and then I'm saying, if they say, "Oh man, I really like that," or my husband, "Oh, my belt broke," or something like that, and I'm in the store and I see a belt, and all of a sudden I bring one home, and he's like, "Oh, you brought that?" I said, "Because I was listening. I remember you mentioned something about your belt was broken, so I was in the store and I saw a belt, and I was like, okay." Or I saw your favorite chips, and I was like, "Oh, they on sale 2 for $1, or they
Yeah.
buy one get one." Then I go and get it.
I
It's
would
it's
get the
it's
belt and the chips too if he bought me 12 roses.
she gonna make y'all gonna see me exit stage. I'm gonna get in my car and I'm going to her house because she's trying me. She's trying me today.
I'm
So
done with it.
right, look, we moving on. Be considerate, like I said, and be thoughtful. Be mindful of the other person's feelings and when they ask you to do things. Because when I have to ask you repeatedly to do things, then I feel like when you don't do it, I feel like you saying F you.
F
Forget
you.
what you said. And I'm feeling some kind of way because I asked you nicely, or I told you there was something that I needed, and you just totally disregarded that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing that irks me. You wanna send me express the anger, have me ask you a couple of times nicely for something, and you just totally disregard my request. And especially, I'm a person who don't ask for much in the first place. So if I'm
Yes,
asking for something, it's because I need it,
I
and
need
you're
it.
not even taking into consideration my
Mhm.
feelings when you just disregard how I feel or what I've said about something.
Absolutely.
So be considerate, be thoughtful, or you're gonna be by yourself.
Period.
Just saying. All right, carrying on.
Is this me or you?
This is you.
Okay.
Final
Guide
slide.
to keep, and this is the final slide. Okay. Guide to keeping your relationship working. Be more concerned about making it work, compromising, and negotiating, and not about being right. We've mentioned that several times already. Be more concerned about that. Making it work is the sacrifice. Making it work is knowing you're right and letting it go. Making it work is the negotiations. Well, if you could do this for me, I could get that done. Versus just being mad. You always asking me to do something. Well, and I'm always doing this, and I always got this to do. Find a way to find a middle ground with things.
Right.
Conversations need to be had to make a healthy relationship. You have to be able to communicate effectively what you need, what you don't need, and asking them what do they need. Are you okay? And being saying no is okay in relationships. Y'all do realize you can say no. There are times that somebody wants you to do something. I can't. I'm sorry, I just can't do it right now. I'm tired, or my head hurts, or I don't really feel like it right now. That's okay too. But that shouldn't be always the answer. That's why there's negotiating. That's why there's compromising. Make it work.
Right.
Keep that as your major concern, because that's the only healthy way. You can't even start a business without truly always being in the mindset of what is going to keep that business flowing. What do I have to do? What kind of advertisement? What products? What speeches? Who do I need to reach out to? What do I need to do? That's what you do in a relationship. How do I make sure this day is good? How can we wake up together each day? Are we going to recite a scripture? Are we going to affirm each other? Or are we just going to give each other a kiss? Whatever that thing is about making it work, let go of the dumb stuff. Because most of the time, it's really not serious enough for you to be mad that long any damn way. But focus on, how can we resolve this issue so that we can keep this thing going?
Right. Right. Just like you said, when you're talking about making things work, I did an interview with a gentleman on my other show, and we were talking, and he was talking about the art of arguing. And one thing that he said was that you both should be arguing against the thing that caused the argument in the first place, not against each other.
I love that.
You should be arguing, or you should be fighting for your relationship, not the thing that's trying to tear your relationship apart.
Right.
Why is this thing that's causing tension between us, causing this tension and causing us to go against each other when we love each other?
When we love each other.
When we want to be with each other. So now it's a matter of questioning that thing that's trying to tear you apart. So that's a part of making it work. Okay. Talking about, like you said, making those compromises, you know, and negotiating. And sometimes what we have to understand is that sometimes we say yes or no in a certain situation based on based on what was happening then. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. My husband wanted to do real estate at one point, and at that moment, my finances weren't exactly where they needed to be. My credit score wasn't exactly where it needed to be. So I was like, you know what? Right now is not a good time to invest into this, because I'm not going to qualify for the things that we're looking to qualify for.
Yeah.
You know, and he took that as I never, ever right. in life for the duration of our relationship ever want to deal with any type of real estate things. And so at one point when I said, hey, you know what, let's look at some properties and things like that, and he was like, well, before, when I asked you, you didn't want to.
Somebody wasn't listening.
All I'm saying is, you know, you have to look at what was happening at the time. You have to realize that people grow. People are changing. We're evolving. We're going along a path, and at times there are going to be twists and turns in that path. Sometimes we're going to learn different things, and we're going to know better, so we're going to do better. Don't hold those things against that person.
Yes.
That's the part that's what starts tearing relationships apart, because you're hanging your hat on everything that I did 20 years ago, and we've been together 30 years, and you've forgotten about what was going on these last 10 years. Or you've forgotten about the growth that I've or the changes that I've made. You've totally disregarded that, and just made that the one time that I said something that was the end all to be all. Let's have a conversation. There is a possibility to revisit things. There's always a possibility to revisit something that you may have discussed at one point. And then it's also important for us to say, well, you know, maybe at a later time we can go back or we can look at it.
Yes.
Or if I bring it up again, don't go back and say, well, last time you said. I'm bringing it up again for a reason, because now things have changed and now we're in a different situation.
Yeah.
You know, that person may not have been working and now they're working. That changes the dynamics of a relationship. because now we have a little bit more, so we could do a little bit more. So now we can make some choices that are going to be different.
Right.
So people have to take all those kinds of things into consideration. And a big thing now I want to say, especially that part about not being right, when you're having a disagreement with your significant other, is it important for you to be right? What do you want the end result to be of that argument? That we are back to back, or I'm slamming the door in your face, or I'm telling you to get out? Or is it that I want us to be cuddling and watching a movie together, or having a nice dinner and having a good night and having peace?
Yes.
Peace. How about that?
Yes.
What is it that I want to be the end result? Is it important for me to be right in this particular instance? And sometimes, yes, it is going to be, yes, I want my point made here because this is something that's going to be critical to our relationship. So yeah, I need to make my point.
Right.
But do you have to be right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, all right, concede. It's all right. We don't have to go back and forth on this just for me to go, see, I told you.
See,
Is it
let it
worth
go. Let it go.
Is it worth it? That's the key. So this one is a mouthful.
You know what it made me think of? Anxious attachment versus avoidant attachment relationship. People who are anxious all the time. So when there's an argument, they want to stop knocking on my door. There's my children, y'all. When there's people who, when there's an argument, they want to talk about it right now because they're afraid you're going to leave. And if you walk away, they think that everything's going to end. Versus somebody who's avoidant, they want to walk away. I don't want to talk about this right now. And somehow these two always come together. That's fine. We're not saying that these can't exist together, but this is where the compromising and negotiating comes in. The avoidant person should be able to say, give me a time limit. Okay, let me walk away for 10 minutes and then we can come back and address this. So then that anxious person now knows, okay, I have an opportunity to have this conversation again in 10 minutes. If they're anxious enough, they're going to count all 10 minutes. I ain't gonna lie. But at least that's a compromise that you could come to say, this is one place in our relationship where we know we can make it work better this way versus throwing everybody off in this person's crying and they following you down the street and chasing you in cars and all this extra stuff, all because y'all don't have a full-blown conversation. We're adults here, y'all.
Right.
We're trying to help y'all keep your relationship working. We've done all this work with y'all in these past few weeks, talking about finding the right relationships and all these different things. But once you're there, once you're in there, be mindful, keep in the front of your forehead right here of how to make it work on a continuous basis.
Right. Well, one thing, like I said, that's important is that you establish certain things before that escalation happens.
Right.
When you're developing your relationship, just say, you know what, while we're still in love and while we're sitting here talking, if we should get into an argument, let's come up with a word, a safe word, some type of word, something that's going to, say, if we say pineapples, that means we're gonna table whatever conversation we're having at the moment, and then we'll come back to it. What is the buzzword? What is something that's going to allow us to have this little pause that we need to step to the side and gather our thoughts? What is that safe word? What is something that we have in common that we can say? And I saw this recently on something that I saw on social media where a person was talking about the successes of him and his girlfriend's relationship and how they were saying that there was a safe word. When it got heightened or it got to a certain point, they would say that safe word and that person would stop and they would, go back and revisit it at a later time. We need to be able to do that. And we need to be able to make those kinds of decisions, not in the heat of an argument or in the heat of a disagreement. We need to have those conversations. Okay, if we get to a point where this happens, what do we need to do? So that we already have had a conversation about it. We already know what to do. And we've already got those tools in the toolbox and established, not in the heat of the argument, because at the heat of the argument, you're not thinking about all these things. But if you've had a conversation about it before, you'd be like, okay, what did we say we were going to do when we got to this point? We're going to do this. Somebody is going to initiate that because somebody's going to be like, okay, I had enough. Okay, so I said pineapples. All right, so now we're going to let it go. All right, and then go from there. Make sure that you're having those conversations before it gets to the point of escalation. Okay? All right, now, That's it with the slides. But I was in a training today, and in the training, the lady said, "Keep your relationships hot," and it
Mm.
was an acronym. And the H stood for honest, the O stood for open, and the T stood for transparent. So she said, when you're in a relationship, keep your relationships hot.
Nice.
Okay, we talked about that. All right. So let's break that down a little bit, Sharon. Keep it
Oh.
honest. We talked about truth. Keep it open.
Mhm.
And she's talking about roses and all this other stuff. We ain't talking about an open relationship like that. Okay, let me just I want to clarify.
What kind of roses?
I'm not going back down that
You
rabbit hole with you.
stuck.
I just climbed out. I climbed out. So you were in that hole by yourself. And like you said, transparent. Keep it real. Be real with people. People are so busy trying to be fake and trying to be things that they're not. Why are you telling people that you're things that you're not, like they're not gonna find out? How many months did your car in the shop? When you know you've been on the bus? You got a whole MARTA card. You riding back and forth on that doggone bus, but you talking about you got a car in the shop. Why are you not being honest? But you want the relationship to
Mhm.
progress. But how is it gonna progress when you building it on lies? Your mama don't live
Oh
with you. You live with your mama. Why are you lying?
gosh.
How can that person help you? You know, there are so many people that started from the bottom and they worked their way up. And they had people who, you have stars that were dating people back in high school. And why did they stay with that person? Because that person knew them when they didn't have anything. And now that they have everything, that person is there to share in that joy with them because they were willing to walk beside them while they were going through.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
didn't have to put on airs. They didn't have to lie about it. They were just honest about what it, and they were in the struggle, and that person became their what? Ride or die.
Right. Kim, keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am. I can do it. Okay. So again, keep your relationships hot. Your relationship should be honest, open, and transparent. The things that we've been talking about are just a couple of the tips that people can use to establish strong relationships. Again, I've been blessed to have parents who've been together for a long time, many, many years of love because they've gone through, the tests and trials of relationships. They understand what it means to support one another. They understand what unconditional love is. Okay. And these were all things that they had to learn. It didn't mean that they didn't have issues or concerns or problems that came up along the way, but they worked together against that thing that was trying to pull them apart. Okay. So that's what you need to do as you're going through your relationships, as you're finding your person. And as you're finding that person, start asking yourself some of these questions that we've talked about and some of these things. Are you being honest with that person? Are you being true to yourself? It all starts with you. Okay. The biggest relationship that you have to be in is that relationship with yourself because how you treat yourself is going to dictate how others will treat you. Keep that in mind always. The biggest relationship that you're having is your relationship with self, how you're treating yourself. Are you being good to yourself? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being true to yourself? Are you being transparent about things that are triggers for you? And what are you doing to resolve them? Okay, so those are the things. When we're talking about all these relationships, the biggest relationship is the one that you have with yourself. Okay, look at that, right on time, right on time. Okay.
My apologies. My boyfriend is on his way back. He'll be here soon. But the kids are like, the only adult in the house is you, mommy. Let me come find you. I'm like, I thought
That's
we
what
already practiced this. We did a practice test.
That's all right. That's all right. Now, like I said, we were just wrapping things up, talking about the most important relationship is the one that we have with ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about the fact that, even when we talk about this, keeping a relationship hot, being honest, open, and transparent with yourself. Because I said
Yeah,
how you treat yourself is going to be the predictor of how other people are going to
we're going to
treat
keep it chill.
treat
Absolutely.
you.
And I do a lot of relationship coaching, and one of the things I have found important is working with each individual by themselves and then
Right.
having a session with the two of them together, because that does help them keep it honest, open, and transparent, because when they learn something about themselves, now they can bring it to each other.
Mhm.
This is why I behave this way. These are why these actions happen from me. And they're able to reveal to self first, because that's the most important relationship first. They get to digest it and process it. And then when we come together as a group, now they're able to tell the other person, this is what I've learned about myself, or this
Mhm.
is something that I went through that I never shared with you. And I think it's important for everybody to do those type of things, because the more you can trust somebody, first slide, be faithful, the more
Mhm.
you're going to not hurt them,
Right.
the more you won't hurt each other. When you could have that level of trust, that level of faithfulness, and that level of transparency, that's always going to create the healthiest relationships. Nothing's perfect
Mhm.
by far. No relationship is perfect. They don't go without the things, but we talk about these things for the toolbox, like Kim was talking about, so that you have some tools. So when things get rough, you have
Right.
something to fall back on, because they will get rough.
Oh yes. Yes. No relationship is flawless because no two people are the same. So hopefully, like you said, they over these last couple of weeks, hopefully the things that we've shared are things that you can put in your relationship toolbox, and like she said, you can draw from when things go awry, and they will. But hey, yeah, we do all that. Hopefully the makeup
Will be great.
is full of roses.
I was gonna say that she didn't.
She was. I just beat her to the punch. Okay. So with that, I'm gonna say, guys, make sure that you like, follow, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channels. Again, they've been scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Sheronda put her website in the chat, talking about authentically your expressions and talking about these beautiful, delightful
Yeah.
pillows.
And let me close y'all out for the night.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
you, Kim, for always showing us the
Yes.
pillows. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Everything is scrolling at the bottom of the screen, like Kim said. Go to both channels. Click like, click subscribe, click on the bell, turn your notifications on, because I sure got a notification that Kim was on here right now from her page. So make sure you're following us everywhere that you can, so that you keep up with what we're doing, and do everything to make your relationship work. It's worth it. It's so worth it. Anything
Mhm.
else, Kim?
Nope, that's it.
All
That's
right.
wrap this up nicely. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Next week.
Make sure again that you reach out to us. Let us know how you're enjoying the show and some topics that you may want to hear. We're always willing to hear what it is that you have going on and what you want to see us talk about. And with that, I'm gonna say peace. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.